So, I needed a tripod mount for my phone, and I had this old OtterBox belt clip lying around, and I thought, I could modify this and use it as a tripod mount. It's a super easy project anyone can do with tools you probably already have on hand. Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So here are the tools I use to convert my phone belt clip into a tripod mount. And of course, the clip, which you can find on eBay for $5. I already had 2 of them. This belt clip is from the OtterBox Defender series. You want one of the clips that has the full tray base. You will need to remove material to allow the camera to see through the clip. I used my son's iPod case to mark the area to remove. This clip is very rugged and remains sturdy even after the plastic was removed. Be careful when you drill your holes, clamping the piece down to hold it in place. Don't try to drill these holes holding the plastic clip by hand. The bits tend to catch on the plastic and will torque the clip out of your hands. Using a drill press would be great if you have one. I drilled a second hole and then connected them using a coping saw. I was doing this project inside, at the kids' homework table, which really wasn't optimal. It tended to shake as I cut, but it beat being in the 90-degree heat in the garage. The coping saw has a detachable blade that can be inserted through the drill holes and then reattached to the handles. It has fine teeth that cut through the plastic handily. I would use the teeth to grind away high spots and moved on to a hobby file and sandpaper to do the final smoothing. The plastic was easy to sand away with a coarse sandpaper. I think I used 110 grit initially, but finished with 240 grit to get the edges really smooth. I kept adjusting the shape until I had something remotely oval shaped. Next up is the nut that attaches to the tripod screw mount. I chose to offset it to one end, but you could place it anywhere along the tray base. I used a Sharpie to mark the center of the nut and began drilling out the hole which would hold the nut in place. I started with a small bit, moving up 1 bit size larger each time until I was close to the nut's outer dimensions. I can't really tell you what size to drill the hole, just take your time and start small, because the plastic tends to grab the bit and torque the piece, twisting it. I used 24 bits to get to the final size, stepping up to the next bit size, drilling, and repeating. The nut will need to be snug, and it can be pressed in for a friction fit when you have the hole size correct. I had a bag of spare nuts, so finding one that fit my tripod was pretty simple. You only need 1 nut, so you may luck out as I did and have one on hand. The friction fit alone is not enough to hold the nut in place. The tripod screw will pull the nut out of the plastic as you tighten it if you try to rely only on the friction fit. So a little epoxy around the nut is needed to hold it in place. Most of the belt clips for sale online were black. If you use a black epoxy, it will likely never show. Be sure to add epoxy to both sides, cleaning the excess from the bottom side that rests on the tripod cork. You want the nut flush with the bottom so it rests smoothly against the tripod. The epoxy I used needed to be pressed into the areas between the nut and the plastic clip. It looked a little messy at first, but once I was sure the cracks were filled, I wiped away the excess and the plastic cleaned up easily. I placed some wax paper on the table and clamped the belt clip to hold it upright. The wax paper was there to prevent gluing the piece to the table. I added a generous amount of epoxy to this side, overlapping the top of the nut, but being careful not to get any of the epoxy in the threads at any time. Other than waiting for the epoxy to cure, you are done. I love the fact that I was able to repurpose this into something useful and for almost no expense. So if you need an inexpensive tripod mount for your Apple phone or iPod, go make that tripod mount. New video next week, so please subscribe.